The Super Eagles Mafia.
This is the first in my 6-part series of the Mafia that has run the Super Eagles camp. Now, did you ever know that the Super Eagles have been run by Mafias before? Yes, I can count at least 6 Mafia groups that have run the Super Eagles. There was the Enugu Rangers Mafia in the early 70s. There was the Southwest and Southeast Mafia, which I can say is the Rangers and Shooting Stars Mafia, still in the 70s. Then there was the Benin Mafia in the 80s. There was the Aba Mafia in the 90s. There was the Kaduna Mafia still in the 90s, and the John Mikel Obi Mafia. And at certain points in time, these mafias have run the national team. But let's start with the earliest mafia I remember, and that will be the Enugu Rangers Mafia in the early 70s. Now, what's a mafia? A mafia is simply an international group of criminals. I mean, of course, the mafia we all know from the Sicilian Mafia, the Milan Mafia, the Rome Mafia, the Chinese Mafia. There have been lots of mafia all over the world. In Port Harcourt, we've had the Wogo Mafia. The mafia is also regarded as a group having hidden or sinister influence. Sinister, like means it. We just can't understand why they exist. Probably a pressure group, probably to cause trouble, but having sinister influence. That's another definition of a mafia. And I would think that for the Super Eagles, the kind of mafia we had was not an international crime group. It was a group that had some kind of influence that could be seen as hidden or sinister. So what has mafia got to do with the football team? Now, sometime after the Nigeria Biafra War, a club was formed, Enugu Rangers, and that club was formed as a symbol of Igbo unity. It was meant to unify the people of the Southeast, especially the Igbos. And lots of Igbos, cashed in on that club. And we started seeing great players like Christian Chukwu, like Emmanuel Okala, like Aloysius Atuebu, like Christian Madu, like Ogidi Ibiabuchi. Lots of these players came out from the Rangers ranks. But by the time Nigeria hosted the All Africa Games in 1973, it was a mixed team, and there were a few from the Southeast. The likes of Tony Igwe, the likes of Godwin Achebe, the likes of Godwin Eziani, the likes of Gideon Njoku, the likes of Emmanuel Okala. We are in that team for the 1973 All Africa Games. But the Rangers' influence continued to grow and grow and grow in the national team. By 1974, Christian Chukwu was the captain of the national team, and we still had more Rangers' influence growing. And of course, the Rangers players in the team like Emmanuel Okala, Christian Chukwu, Dominic Eziani, Ike Ezidima, Christian Madu, Kelechi Emetuele, Ogidi Biabuchi, Aloysius Atuebu, they formed the core of the Super Eagles or the Green Eagles at that time. Now in 1976, just before the Africa Cup of Nations, in January of that year, Enugu Rangers were embarking on a tour of West Africa. Now, the idea of that tour was to, create an awareness to unite the Igbos all over the West Africa sub-region. Of course, people are still suffering from the effects of the war that ended 6 years earlier. People respond, react, or recover from things differently. And Rangers had to embark on a tour of West Africa at the same time that the Eagles were being called to camp to play for the national team for the AFCON in 76. Now, the Rangers players decided to stick with Rangers rather than stick with the national team. And there was this slogan that was heard or was whispered around football circles at that time: no Rangers, no Eagles. So the Rangers players chose to boycott the Super Eagles and stick with their own club because they felt, hey, we are Rangers. Without us, there could be no Eagles. But the authorities at that time at the Nigeria Football Association, they decided to call the bluff of the Rangers players and, hey, we are going to go to camp without you, and we will go to the AFCON without you. So the camp continued anyway. At some point, a few players, retraced their steps and returned to the team. Like Christian Chukwu came back to the team. A player like Kelechi Emetuele came back to the team. A player like Ogidi Biabuchi came back to the team. A player like Aloysius Atuebu came back to the team. But Okala did not come back to the team. A player like Christian Madu did not come back to the team. And of course, the absence of some of these Rangers players made way for a goalkeeper like Zion Ogunfeyemi. He would never have been there in the national team. But the absence of Emmanuel Okala ensured that Zion Ogunfeyemi was part of the national team. A player like Kunle Awesu, a right-sided player, would never have been at the national team for that 76 AFCON. if not for the absence of Rangers players. A player like Muda Lawal may not have been at the AFCON in 76 if not for the absence of Rangers players in that team. And of course, Muda turned out to be a very great player for the Super Eagles, playing in so many AFCONs and winning the 1980 edition. A player like Baba Otu Mohammed would never have been in the 1976 team if not for the absence of Rangers players. So the NFA at the time and the Super Eagles coach called the bluff of the Rangers players and said, we are going to the AFCON with or without you. So 4 of them retraced their steps. Christian Chuku, Kelechi Emetuele, Ogidi Biabuchi, and Alosha Tatuebu, and they made the team to the AFCON in 76 when Nigeria finished in 3rd place. And that was how the wings of the Rangers players were clipped, and should I say, an end to the Rangers Mafia. But did it really end? Part 2 of this series will come up in a few days' time.